Hey everybody, my name is Carl Libertine and thanks for tuning in here. I'm going to walk you through a real-world working scenario where I'm going to use Melodyne's sound editor to help me shape the tone and color of this bass guitar and some other instruments in this mix. This is a song that I'm working with. Now, if you're not familiar with polyphonic spectral shaping, it's basically using the Melodyne engine to help give you tools and access to adjusting the tone and color of sound, not just in an EQ way, which we can do in another video, but we're talking about harmonic overtone editing, editing the actual partials of each note here in the audio. And it's a really unique way to dive into sound, but leave it to Melodyne to come up with that. It's absolutely amazing. Now it works on a spectral level. What I'm going to do here is the first step is I want to import my audio and analyze it with Melodyne. But I think it's also important to preface this by saying that this feature right here is only available in the studio edition of Melodyne. If you want a more detailed comparison on what the difference is between the 4 versions available, just visit Celemony.com. Some great information there for you. Now, depending on your DAW and how you're importing audio into Melodyne here in Studio One, I have a keyboard command that's Control M, and thanks to Audio Random Access, the bass guitar here, which we're going to be working with, has been analyzed and imported for us right here perfectly. Okay, so here's the bass guitar to this song that I'm writing. All right. But what you're looking at down here is the sound editor. Now, to activate it, here's our general editing window. If you want to edit audio with the spectral sound shaping, with the sound editor, just toggle the window on here. And with the audio selected, like so, that audio that is selected now is available for editing here harmonically. So what you're looking at here is the overtones of the audio. This is what makes it the timbre, what makes the sound like the sound. And now, thanks to Melodyne, we can get in there and actually utilize these tools for some real creative fun. And not only correct it, but really, I mean, we could really change some audio and have some fun with this. All right, now let's get started. As you can see, when I play the audio, what you're looking at here, again, is just the bass guitar because that's what I have analyzed and selected. If you wanted to edit just one note, that's not going to work. If I just select one note and want to do spectral shaping on one note, it's not going to work that way. You could select regions of your audio and apply Melodyne spectral shaping harmonics to those regions. But generally speaking, when you bring in a track, it's going to apply this to the whole track. So keep that in mind, that whole track here within Melodyne. All right. Now, like I said, if you have multiple tracks here, though, you could select the multiple tracks and edit them all at the same time with the sound editor, and it'll apply them to all the tracks, but only within the Melodyne window. Maybe we'll do a demo of that in a moment. Okay, so let's turn this back on and let's have a little fun here and talk about polyphonic spectral editing. So because we're working with a bass guitar here, and Melodyne is so intuitive and intelligent, you'll see that we have it selected right here in harmonics. We have low, harmonics, and high. Now there's also EQ and synth, which we'll get into later, but right now we're talking about the harmonics overtone editing. Low, let's start there. It's going to allow you to only contour the harmonics related to the low end energy. And this example, that could work great because it's a bass guitar. But let's say you had a piano or an acoustic guitar and you wanted to focus on the high register overtones. You could switch to high. And you can see there is a difference here represented in this graph. So this will give you a focus on the lower end energy overtones and the higher end. And in the middle, harmonics is going to give you a blend between the two. Now, what is a crossover point between the low and the high? Well, Melodyne manages that within itself. It's really good housekeeping, so you don't have to worry about that. But of course, let your ears be the judge in how you want to work with it. But for now, we're going to just stick to the general harmonics. Okay, and we're looking at here are the bands representing the overtones, the harmonic series, and it goes really, 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 it's super high fidelity. So the first one here will be our first order. And before that, right here, we've got what I call bar 0. Anything below that root note, anything that non-musical, I like to call it, is truncated down to this bar right here. Here, let me solo the bass and let's have a little fun. And often, by lowering this, there's a little tip for you, can help clean up your audio. Anything that's non-musical and below that fundamental is truncated down to this bar here. So this really is worth exploring. And often I bring it right down to help clean up my audio. Now let's have an example of the first order harmonic here when I boost it. Really, really low end and boomy. And that's just me working with the first order harmonic here. So as you can see, I can click and drag each one of these independently to start contouring the sound utilizing the overtone editing here in the harmonic section. And here in this little gear icon, you can open that at any time and reset the spectrum back to normal. So you're never, if you find yourself crossing the line and going too far, then just open this up and hit reset. You also have copy. You can copy and paste this. Maybe we'll do a demo of that in a minute. Clear the spectrum. It's all gone. And you can reset it. And you also have shuffle, which will create a randomization. This is always fun. Let's bring in the drums there for this. Hey, that could work in your mix, right? This would be a creative example of using Sound Editor to change the harmonic overtones. Give you a really creative effect right there. I'm glad we tried that. Okay, now back to business, of course. As I said, you could reset it at any time there. Now, the bouncing balls of energy there represent the energy per partial there for every overtone. So it's real time. I always like that. If I want to affect all of the even order, I could double click and you can see that they're all now selected all the way down the line, and we can raise or lower them as a group. All right. And we could also do the same with the even and the odd as well. Okay. And if you want a real fine adjustment, I believe you can hold your Option key or your Alt on a PC and really get some detail in your editing there. Okay, real fine adjustment. But when would this be practical? Well, we're going to get into that right now because this is a straight bass guitar and we're working with the source audio file. I really want it to sound a little bit more body to the instrument. I want it to fill out some more space in the mix, and we're going to do all of that with the overtone editor here. Before I get into that, I also want to show you that in this area we have a global bypass. Let me hide myself there. Now over here we have a makeup gain. Here's a tip for you. Just like the automatic crossfades with the high and low right here, Melodyne also automatically compensates for any gain changes. But if you have to tweak it again, here's a level right there for you. You can globally bypass it, so you can A/B your work. And under this gear icon, you can reset all settings, copy them, and you can paste them as well from here. All right. So that's important to know too. All right, let's bring myself back in here. Now let's start working. Now it helps me to understand what it is I want to do. I want a little bit more body to this. And if you notice here, we've got some macros included. Here's the emphasis macro, dynamics. Down here we got brilliance, contour, and then of course we got odd even, and then the comb. So let's start here with this macro slider right here. The emphasis and the dynamics, these two work together right here. Here's a fact for you is that when you adjust some of these macros, the display here, the harmonic display, won't always adjust. So you have to use your ears to listen to them. And this is a perfect example of one of them, the emphasis. All right. Now this is going to boost or cut what is naturally particular about the sound. So let's take a listen. If I slide it to the right, I increase the emphasis. I slide it to the left, I decrease it. And we can also get some cool effects with this too. Check it out. Slide it to the right. A little bit more articulation there. Did you notice that? Now slide to the left. I like that. Really de-emphasizing what's natural to that audio. And let's push it all the way to the left. Minus 200%. This will be the realm of definite creativity right here. Let's go back to minus 100%. I like that. It's kind of has like an 8-bit 80s video game sound to it. Let's bring it back to the center, where it naturally lives. So I want to increase this a little bit. Right there. So I'm going to go a little bit more. So it's taking what's naturally there harmonically and just emphasizing a little bit more. Maybe rather than like boost an EQ or add a compressor to this to try to find certain frequencies, just taking what's naturally there and giving you a little bit more of it. It's Melodyne magic. Now here in the dynamics section, as you can see by the graphical interface here, the slider will influence the amplitude of the notes and their dynamics, which I think is really cool. If you slide it to the right, the notes will be shorter sounding. Ready? I'll do it in real time for you. Very shorter sounding right there. And if you slide it to the left, we're going to increase a bit of the sustain and body of the instrument. There you go. Here's original. And here's what a lot of dynamics here. Real full-bodied and fat. I like that. I wouldn't express it that much because I know I'm going to probably add some compressors later. Oh, I like that. It's sitting really nice. But notice we have the emphasis that we increased too here. So with these two sliders alone, you could do quite a bit. And as I mentioned before, the display isn't affected here by changes with these two parameters. These are just what you're going to hear and not visually also reference as well. I want to point that out. Let's bring in our drums now. And what did we do? We actually used polyphonic spectral shaping, overtone editing to bring out more body in the instrument and at the same time increase what is really particular and cool about it that we liked using the emphasis slider. Let's bring these both in, the drums and the bass now. I'm going to bypass it. Ready? Here we go. Bypass it right here. Now let's bypass it. Here's the original. Before. And here's after. A lot more low-end energy there. I like that. Here's without. Sounds a little weak and anemic, right? Let's bring it in. There you go. It's in. I tell people all the time in a rural world working scenario, if I'm editing the bass guitar, hey, now I can do so much more with Melodyne to really also contour not only the pitch and timing of the audio and more than that, of course, but to, now I can edit the tonality and the color of the instruments, even the dynamics with just these two sliders right here. But the best way, again, is always to find out for yourself. But that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to bring out a lot more body and low end in the bass, but articulate the picking as well. And I think we did it successfully using the emphasis slider here and the dynamic slider. But let's talk about a little bit more about the rest of the sliders. Now here we have brilliance. Now these sliders here will give you a immediate visual effect to go with them. Brilliance here is going to, if you move the slider to the right, you're going to increase what makes the sound brighter. And of course we'll do this in real time with just the bass guitar. Here, check it out. Okay. That really cut through the mix, but there's no body in there. Let's bring it to the left. We'll I like that tone actually. And that's as easy as it gets. You can make the brighter sounds quieter by moving to the left, and the brighter sounds brighter by moving to the right. Again, pretty cool. And I would do this within the mix, the context of the other instruments too. Definitely check that out. In fact, let's do that. I'm going to bring in everything. Hear that? Now let's make it lower. Oh, I like that. I lowered the brilliance down. Again, give it a little bit more weight. Minus 22% there. Amazing. And you can see that it's giving you a visual of where the partials were originally with these gray lines here. Okay? So when you bypass the effect, you can have a little bit of a comparison of both. Here's before, and now. It's with a little bit of the brightness lowered down. Now the next one is going to be contour. Now moving this slider to the right, yes, check it out. You'll see that the peaks that are higher are exaggerated to go higher, and the lower ones go lower. And this will be the inverse going all the way to the left. Let's check this out. Let's bring in just a bass for this. And of course, this one gives you a even slope representing all of the harmonic partials there. So hopefully you're beginning to see how this is a real unique way to create a tone for your source, your instrument, a bass guitar in this example, to give you something really great sounding. And remember, you could use this on sections of your audio, but in this case, I imported the whole file. So keep that in mind as a creative tip. If you just wanted this, let's say in the beginning of a song, you could apply it just to the intro, and then even print that and bring it into your mix and have further, flexibility that way. Or just, take other sections of it and work with them individually. Or if you want to affect the entire track like we did here, just bring it in like so. All right. Now that was contour. Odd even, this is really interesting. It's going to, when I sliding to the right, the odd numbers go down and the left, the even ones. Let's check it out. That's actually a pretty cool tone right there. Let's bring in the drums with that. Almost like a chorusy effect, right? And what we're doing is just affecting the balance between the natural even order and odd order harmonics of the source file. All right, now let's bring that back up. And again, I'm just holding control on my keyboard to bring all of these parameters back to center. Okay, their default state. Now this is a comb filtering effect here. This is really fun. It's going to remove them in sections at a time until you find what works for you. Check it out. Would love to be able to map that to maybe a wah pedal or something for as a guitar player like me. I really like this. There. Now I do believe we found a tone that works for me here using the emphasis, the dynamics, and a little bit of the brilliance that I lowered down. All right, now let's bring in a couple other instruments here. Let me go to my acoustic guitars. Here is 2 acoustic guitars here. I'm going to select them both. And yeah, this one. Yeah, let's do this one and this one. And my keyboard command. And just like that, they are both analyzed. And here is, here's the Gibson. Let's bring in the Taylor acoustic. Also, we definitely want that one. So I've got a Gibson acoustic and a Taylor acoustic recorded here. And you can compare them here's the Gibson. Here's the Taylor. Not too different, actually. Let's take a listen to these, and I'll show you some of the really cool tools that we can do harmonically between them. All right. So here is the Gibson first. Looks beautiful, doesn't it? And here is the Taylor guitar right there, like so. Let's bring that one in. Make sure we got select focus on it. A little brighter, a little thinner sounding. I think that was probably definitely a dynamic microphone on that one. But they both look really good. Now, let's have a little fun here. I've got two very different acoustic guitars recorded two very different ways, but they do still sound a little similar. If I wanted to, I could select, let's say I wanted the Taylor to sound like a Gibson in this case. Sorry, Taylor. We can actually select focus on the Taylor guitar here, come down to the settings and choose copy spectrum. Now I'm going to select focus. Actually, let's do the opposite. Gibson, I'm going to copy the spectrum of the Gibson, select focus on the Taylor. You could do vice versa. And I'm going to hit paste the spectrum. And if you look really closely, you can see the light bars that show the difference here. Now, it's not going to make it sound like a Gibson. It's basically going to blend a little bit of the two together. And this is the sound we now have. So here's the Taylor guitar with some of the unique characteristics, the overtones of the Gibson copied onto it. Here's without. Not too much of a difference. I can add some body. Bring down the brilliance. There. Now be careful a little bit with the dynamics. If you apply too much dynamics and the notes, depending on the performance, they could overlap each other a little bit with the sustain, the added dynamic sustain that they applied to it. But I wanted to show you this. So I took basically the harmonic tonal fingerprint of the Gibson, copied it right here. Then I selected the Taylor guitar and then went to the same settings and hit paste. And it gave me a jump start with the creativity of starting to contour the Taylor guitar while referencing it from a different acoustic guitar track. Now let's bring all this into our mix here. Let's pan out our guitars and have a little bit of fun. Let's bring these down and let's check out our whole mix now. Hopefully you're able to follow along with this at home if you have studio version. If not, definitely visit ceremony.com for an upgrade and see how you can get started utilizing Sound Editor and harmonic overtone editing in your work today. Nice. Stay busy and stay creative, everyone, and thank you for watching.